Eddie the Eagle is directed by Dexter Fletcher and stars Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman, and chronicles the life of Eddie, an unathletic outcast, and his journey to the Olympics. So I had high hopes for Eddie the Eagle, as it was produced by Matthew Vaughn and starred Taron Egerton, who was great in last year's Kingsman: The Secret Service. However, this movie didn't live up to my expectations. First off, the film suffers from huge tonal shifts. One moment it'll take place in the real world, then the next it'll take place in this almost cartoonish atmosphere without any explanations. The acting wasn't bad for the most part. Hugh Jackman was as good as come to expect, but the real wild card here was Taron Egerton, who I found his acting to be incredibly laughable at times. Now, I'm not sure whether the real Eddie acted the way he did in real life, but sometimes I found Taron's acting to be extremely forced, and without that kind of background context, I'm not sure whether Taron gave an excellent portrayal of Eddie or incredibly poor. Now, the comedy itself didn't really land in this film. There were many times where I found myself just sitting there and the jokes kind of going on and on and on, and you're sitting there awkwardly, like wondering, when is this going to end? And that kind of ties itself back to the tonal shift problem I talked about at the top of the review. This movie, especially near the beginning, it'll definitely come across as a family film. But then the next moment, like halfway through, it'll make this giant shift, and one character will be describing sex very crudely that it almost becomes this 14A comedy, and it suffers from this lack of identity, I find. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know whether it should be based in reality and a family film or kind of comical and in more adult film. And it's extremely frustrating seeing a movie that doesn't know what it wants to be and trying to juggle all these things and ending up failing. So a few things this film does have going for it is great pacing and an extremely good third act. And I'm talking about one of the best third acts in a film I've seen in a while. It really just elevated this film as a whole and made me feel all warm inside. It felt like a different crew was actually behind the production of the climax to this film. I mean, it felt totally different than the rest of the film. They halted featuring these cartoonist scenes, as well as hitting you over the head with these like predictable motifs that you know how these characters are going to change. That it was just really frustrating. And this film really focused on Eddie and Hugh Jackman and the feel-good nature that this film was supposed to possess. It really made me feel all warm inside, and I loved the third act to this film. It was executed to near perfection. And that's the thing, this film could have used a couple more drafts just to fix up the problem this movie was plagued with, but it wasn't. This isn't a film I'm not going to watch again, but I would recommend it solely for its third act and the feel-good nature of it. And with that being said, Eddie the Eagle gets a 6 out of 10. Alright guys, this has been your favorite critic 26 with yet another review. If you enjoyed this video, please smack that like button as always, share it to your friends, and subscribe for future videos. My next review will be of Doctor Strange, so look out for that in a couple days. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.